Record. Still don't have a one shot of Dan, but that's okay.
Yeah, yes, you do.
All right, we're recording, we're broadcasting, and...
He's the voiceover studio engineer, star,
And good evening. All right, few technical problems. It's Mother's Day. All the mothers don't want us doing anything today, and that's why it's a problem.
Exactly.
Did you have any honeydews you had to do today, George?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I blew off two of them to get this show on the air today.
And apparently not in great style. But we're here anyway, and that's all that matters. That's the most important thing. We're here every Sunday night, 8 o'clock in the East, 5 o'clock out on the West Coast. By the way, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we're East West Audio Body Shop. Well, we figured we'd get to that eventually. I had my honeydew today. I had to clean out an aquarium that's been sitting down here. We had a fish in there he killed all the other fish, so I kept him in prison for 6 years by himself. He finally died. This thing is full of algae. I had to clean this thing out, scrape the sides, hose it out in the driveway.
Oh, lovely.
Yes, I know. Chompy is gone, though. We'll see you. Anyway, that was his name. Anyway, happy Mother's Day, and welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. We're only human. We try to do what we can. But we're here to answer your questions about home studios, home voiceover studios, and maybe some general questions about the voiceover business itself. If you go in the forums at all, people are asking all sorts of really good questions about watermarking and what kind of a mic should I use, and should I do this, should I do that? People who really don't know what's going on in the business, they're brand new to it. We're happy to help you out. I've been there, done that, been doing it, done that for a long time. George knows all the technical answers. I know a few of them too. When I don't know something, I call him anyway. We're here to help you. And if you have a question you'd like to be on our show, all you have to do is email us at ewabsshop, EWABS. Is that right?
That's
shop.
Right.
It's one S, shop, SHOP, at gmail.com. And let's see what you come up with. Let's see what kind of questions you have. Doubt anybody can stump us. Anyway, but moving on, it's time to take some callers. And so why don't we get, on this Mother's Day, let's get going. Do we have our first caller?
We sure do.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Who's calling?
Hi, Dan. It's your mommy.
Of course.
Beautiful.
Hi, Ma.
Remember when you had your radio show in Buffalo? I was always a call-in.
Yeah,
Good questions.
They were always great questions. So happy Mother's Day. Thanks for calling in.
Yes, thank you.
Well, it's great to have you on. And I got to tell you, since I have you on, I got to tell you, happy Mother's Day. You're a great mom. It's tough that you're so far away because you're all the way in California, and I'm stuck here back in Buffalo, although it's 70 degrees here today and sunny.
It's
I don't know what
it's cooler here in California. Right now, it's probably in the mid-60s.
Oh,
How about
crazy. It's true.
Yeah, well, but it's tough you being so far away, and I'm glad you could call in because we don't get to talk too much either. But boy, it's been a while. Let's see, I haven't been out there since November, but people don't want to hear about us doing our small talk. Maybe you want to ask her something, George. Maybe she had a question.
Well, I figured you might have an interesting story about Dan when he was a lot younger and his early days of being an audio geek.
Geek?
Well, even long before he was an audio geek, long before he was a radio person, we called him Gerald McBwang Bwang. There was a children's story about a little boy who didn't talk, but he spoke in sound effects. And that's why they called him Gerald McBwang Bwang, because he would walk around going, bwang, bwang. Well, Dan didn't go bwang, bwang, but he made noises and he talked in interesting language, let's put it that way. So I knew he was destined for a career in audio.
That's perfect. I love it.
Yes, back when everything had tubes. I'm a lot older.
Black and white TV, the olden days.
Right, and 3 channels, maybe 4 if you could get the UHF one.
We started with 1, and then 2, and then 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
The history of broadcasting there.
That's when you'd say, "What's on TV?" and you literally meant, "What is on? What is the one thing on TV right now?"
And we had rabbit ears on the roof. And Dan and his brother were always positioning the rabbit ears so they could pick up Toronto and get, hockey games. So when we turned on TV, it was always all snow because it was headed in the wrong direction.
Or it was just snowing, which was happening a lot.
Yes, or it was just snowing.
Never thought of that, did you?
Oh, man. Well, it's really cool of you to call in. I never expected to have moms on the show today. I think it's a cool idea, but it makes total sense.
Right.
It makes total sense. Dan, you're a clever guy.
I try.
He gets it from his mommy.
That's the wit I get from you. And
I was joking with Dan. I was saying we should swap moms. My mom is in Pennsylvania, and Dan's mom's out here, and we're totally reversed.
Where are you, George?
I'm in Santa Monica.
Oh, okay. About an hour away.
Yeah. And Dan's about probably 5 hours away from my parents.
It's just this modern life now. It used to be that families stayed where they grew up and then parents stayed where they were, but not anymore. This is the nuclear age.
That's right.
Yeah, and you're the real jet setter. You're out there out in the fun coast. Mm-hmm. So, well, Mom, I think it's great that you call in and again,
but
happy Mother's Day.
You probably have some serious callers who want to get in on the show.
We may. Who cares about that? No. Everybody. We love you all. But I love my mom, and I wanted to tell her, Mom, I love you, and thanks for calling in, and hopefully I'll be out that way soon.
I hope so.
Okay,
that
great.
Would be
Thanks
nice.
for calling in. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Happy
Bye.
Mother's Day.
To all your guests.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was great. Awesome.
Well, I miss my mommy.
Oh.
And the thing is yeah, she doesn't look a day over 60.
She looks great. She looks and sounds great.
She's a lot beyond 60 too.
You guys have some good genes.
Yeah, because then if she was 60, then she was 14 when she had me, and I know that's not the case. It was closer to 30. Anyway, okay, she's right. We need to get some callers on here. So do we have our next caller engaged here?
I believe we do. She should be coming up here any second.
All right.
Yeah, we got her.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Who's calling?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, it's Dawn calling from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Calgary, home of the Stampede.
That's us. Nothing but cowboys up here. Okay, some horses. So you guys are doing good?
We're doing fabulous. It's Happy Mother's Day, by the way. Thanks for calling in on Mother's Day. I know you're probably busy today. You having a good time with all your family?
No, I'm busy editing sound stuff today, but my littlest is cooking me dinner right now.
Oh, okay. Well,
the life of a voiceover actor.
Yeah.
Editing audio on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We only work 24/7.
That's true.
So while I'm editing audio, I'm finding, I've still had this problem with plosives, even though I have a lovely pop screen and I'm conscious of the issues, but I still keep getting them.
Yeah.
So you're having some plosive issues.
I plosive a lot.
Okay. Well, here's how you solve that. All right. Now, of course, we all know what this thing is. This is a pop screen. I love my little pop. You see, you got yours too, George? See, now I love this one because it's got a little clip-on thing on the end here. And
oops.
Careful with that thing. Just break the microphones. What'd you do to that thing?
Mine has a clamp too. It's a different kind of clamp. It's the same idea.
All right. The idea with stopping plosives has a lot more to do with how you place yourself, not so much the pop screen itself. But if I put on the pop screen here, put on the pop screen. Okay. All right. Come on. Yeah, this worked. Thank you very much. All right. The idea with preventing plosives isn't so much with the pop screen. If you use your microphone right, you shouldn't even need a pop screen. I'll get a lot of arguments about that.
No, the idea, true.
Yeah, if the idea is how you place your microphone, and what you do is you don't want to talk directly into the diaphragm. What you want is the diaphragm actually about equal with your eyes and your ears. So that way you're not going right into it. And as you can see, you can say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and you won't get a lot of... Did I pop on that one?
No.
See? I proved it again.
No
Peter
popping.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now, if I go right into it, even with the pop screen, it's going to Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Not quite as bad. But without the pop screen, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, you get a pop.
Right.
But if I even take the screen off and go back down this way, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. It's don't talk directly into the mic, right into the diaphragm.
Yeah,
like
you don't have to speak straight into the mic to still sound like you're on mic. Like for instance, right now, I'm not doing a voiceover technique. This is probably more of a radio microphone positioning technique right now. And I've also got it in such a way that the mic's not blocking my face because people were complaining, George, you're hiding behind a pop screen.
We didn't want that.
But, so I'm speaking over the microphone right now, but the diaphragm is pointed towards my mouth. So as long as I keep my head up and speak towards the camera like I'm on TV or something, and the microphone's positioned that way, it works great. If I were to look down and talk right into the microphone, I'll start popping this thing like crazy. So the microphone can still sound like you're on mic without having to have the microphone pointing right into your into the wind stream from your mouth. So, the wind from my mouth, that stream of air is going over the microphone and missing it completely, but the mic is still pointing into that, say, like imaginary softball-sized space in front of my mouth where you sound on mic.
Right. The radiation of the vibration of your voice is still getting there.
So is there any possibility that I have the mic in the right position and I'm still getting plosives?
You shouldn't be getting plosives if you've got it in the right position. If you're perhaps you've got it up a little higher and you're turning your head up when you're talking and you're still talking straight into the diaphragm. Think of the microphone as a pair of ears, or at least one ear, and that you want to, you're talking to somebody as if you're talking to them, because when you talk to people, unless you're whispering in their ear, you don't talk to them like that. So you want to talk normally with your copy down below your microphone, and that's usually what will solve that plosive problem.
That's right.
Okay, I shall check out my mic position.
It takes practice. I mean, it's not automatic. I mean, I am not an on-air talent normally. It still takes practice for me to keep from looking down at the mic and speaking into the mic directly and popping it. It takes practice. Once you understand that the microphone doesn't have to be in your face and directly in line with your mouth all the time, you'll start to get used to it. But it will take time to just practice yourself out of having the microphone right in front of you. If you want to try a totally different position, you can try the eating a corn of cob technique. Cob of corn, I think, actually would be the right way to say it. If I had trying to find one of my mics around. Here we go. Here's one. Actually, it's the same one that Dan has. I'll show this to you real fast. David H. Lawrence the 17th, taught me this one. So you can put the microphone horizontally, because a condenser mic doesn't care whether it's vertical or horizontal. And you can lay it down horizontally and basically make it so it's underneath your mouth, and basically make it look like you're playing a flute or eating a corn of cob like this. And so now I'm speaking over the microphone, but the diaphragm of the mic is still pointing into my mouth. I think we got some audio craziness going on at Dawn's end, so I'm going to turn that down. But yeah, you get the idea, Dawn. If you're still listening, I have your feed turned down right now. But anyway, this is another way you can position the mic. And once you watch the playback on the video, if you're not watching right now, you'll be able to see what we're talking about. But it's a really good question. It's a question a lot of people, or problem a lot of people run into. It's very common. So try that technique out, and I think it'll help you out.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Dawn.
Thanks, Dawn.
Yeah,
and
we'll see you
we'll
soon.
See you
maybe.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, the Mother's Day edition of East West Audio Body Shop, and we forgot to mention who our special guest is tonight. We've got Harlan Hogan with us tonight.
Yeah.
The amazing, the great, the legendary Harlan Hogan will be here. Who knows what we're going to talk about? We'll figure out something. Anyway, we've got another caller coming up in just a little bit, and Harlan Hogan, and of course, Bad Audio of the Week a little bit later on. So stay tuned. We'll be right back here on East West Audio Body Shop.
Modern world, very in It's just not compatible for whatever reason.
No, this is an example of why you test absolutely everything before a show. I mean, I thought, this is an iMac with more power and better CPU, better everything. I'll just swap it out before the show. I have all the media on an external drive. What's the worst thing that can happen, right? And as soon as I start playing these our spots, our video spots, they just come to a screeching halt. And I believe it's a codec issue. I guess whatever version of video player codec on this machine, and it's a Leopard running Leopard instead of Snow Leopard. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously a total disaster. So,
oh Jesus, Snow Leopard on there? That's like running a Model T.
No, it's Leopard. It's pre-Snow Leopard. Yeah, it's version 10.5.8 or something.
That's ancient history. What? Yeah. Update your wife's computer, for crying out loud.
I know. Well, actually, it's got both versions. It's a long story.
Okay,
it's got both versions on it. It's dual boot and everything, except she has to use it because of Photoshop versioning, and it's computers.
Right. Well,
Mac, PC, doesn't matter. Everything has to gel.
Right. Well, as far as my commercial goes, in the broadcasting business, we'd say we get a make good on that one.
That's right.
But anyway.
Well, hey, how about I make up for it right now? Okay, Dan does a really good job of getting your home studio working easily, quickly, affordably. He does it. He's really efficient at it. He's been doing it a long time, and he'll give you the straight information very rapidly and cut through all the misconceptions and have you up and running really fast. And if you want to get his help, go to homestudiomaster.com. How's that, Dan?
That works.
All right.
Nicely done. You've never done voiceover before. It's amazing. You got a whole career that you're missing out on. Anyway, but we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop. Harlan Hogan coming up in just a couple of minutes, and we want to solve your problems again. If you've got a question for us, and again, we don't want to limit it just. Send us in your questions, and you can be on this show too. And then you can like this too, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, do we have our next caller going there, George?
I don't think so.
No, where did he go?
Well, I don't see him on my Skype list of callers. And actually, is that true? Yeah, no, he's not. He apparently is not logged in.
He's logged in here.
And if he is logged in, then he's hiding or something.
No, I can see him.
Can you tell him to call me or something?
Yeah, I can certainly try that. Let's
give him a
call you.
Say, call George. Call Sound Gun.
Call Sound Gun. Sound Gun.
We love to show the way, we love to show how the sausage is made around here. Just makes it more fun.
That's right. But listen, we're having so much fun doing this show. And getting people from all over the world. If you were tuned in last week, we had, Chris called from England, and we had somebody from New Zealand, and then somebody from a cave in Pennsylvania. It was pretty good. I can't wait to hear what Paul's studio sounds like now after he's actually installed all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's going to make a world of difference. And, from way back in one of our first calls, we got a really big improvement out of Patrick Sweeney's studio as well.
Right. Oh, and yeah, he sounds really nice now.
Yeah, we really made a big difference there. Maybe if we have a little time at the end of the show, we could play a clip if I can get that together.
Right. Maybe I could just maybe if I just put him on conference from my end, maybe we can get him on.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, let's try that.
Let's improvise.
Right, let's improvise. We have to teach about Skype here. Let's see here. We're almost there.
You must have a lot of friends, Dan. Don't you just see all who's online at the top of the list?
Yeah, but there he is. Okay, we're going to add him into this.
Add him into the conference.
Add him into the conference. Add. Okay, now he's like, what's going on here?
Of course, we lose Dan's
there
video.
It is.
But that's the way it goes.
East West Audio Body Shop.
Gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening. How are you?
We're fabulous. How you doing?
While I was waiting, I something had just came to me. I guess you could say like an instant epiphany, and it's like East West Audio Body Shop. If your craft is broken or wrecked, bring it to the shop. Yeah, we can fix that.
I like it. I know what was wrong. I was confused because on my show clock it said fat string, but in Skype it said sky high. And I had there was like a disconnect there.
What it is Fat String is the account name, but you have a chance to make up your own nickname anyway, and so Sky High is it's always been my name.
Here's a tip out there, everybody. When you put your name into Skype, the real name, put the real name in. Just make it easier on everybody.
My mother has her regular name in there. She has no problem using Skype.
Anywho, that was my fault. You were right there all along. Actually, let's you know what? Let's make it even more fun, Dan. Why don't you hang up on him, and then we'll call him back, and we'll get your video back on, Dan, because right now we don't have your video.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
This is important. This is TV, everybody.
That's right. Now,
All right, so I'm going to call Sky High.
Okay, all right. You hang up on me there, Sky High.
Okay. I'm going to call him in.
Find the call. There it is.
All right, and let's see if we get Dan's picture back. No picture from Dan yet. And let's see if we can get Sky High on the on my end of the connection here. And Dan's probably trying to get his video working again.
Oh, my video should be fine here.
Oh, as soon as you got the conference call breaks the video. That's the problem.
There we go. Okay, now we'll go back to this cut.
You guys don't have the group video.
There we go. Well, nobody has the group video.
Well, they give it to you free for a number of days, and then poof, it's gone.
Right.
Yeah, videos only happen when it's one-on-one.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll go to a single shot of me, and Dan, why don't you hang up and call back?
Oh,
and that way I'll get your video back, maybe. Or
right.
turn your video off and on again. Maybe that'll kick it back in again.
All right, let me see
One
what
of those
happens.
two
the
should
reason
work.
why you're wait, no, that's right. Your video's still running. Why isn't his?
Because
That's
when
a
you
good
do
point.
a conference call, it breaks the video.
Right.
But
So-
yours is still running.
Well, it's because I'm special.
Oh.
All right.
No, it's
I'm
because-
hanging up. You guys just talk amongst yourselves.
We'll
I'll be
talk
right
to them
Are
amongst
you the
ourselves.
guy they named the Olympics after?
Yeah,
What's that?
Special.
special. Anywho, what's going on, Lauren? What can we help you with today? Is there anything we can possibly help you with that?
Well, you know, I've been talking to Dan, and I pretty much know where he sits on the issue that you should
I'm
never
back.
color your voice. But when you use a dynamic mic such as a Shure SM7B or anything of the like, you're going to have to turn your mixer full wide open if you're going to even get a little squeak out of it, unless you use a preamp.
Right.
My question is, there's a lot of cheap preamps in there now. I've looked at a lot of them for over $1,000, and some of them are solid state, some of them are tubes.
Why?
So I was pretty curious to know what was your thought on tube or preamp? And
Well-
if you like preamps, what are your thoughts tube over solid state?
Well, preamps are necessary all the time, whether it's built into the MicPort Pro, Apogee One, built into a mixing console, or it's some big box that's in a rack next to your, mic. You always have a preamp. So just to clarify that misconception, the preamps are always in use within a microphone. It has to be in used, even if
mic
it's a
won't work
USB
without
mic. If it's a USB connected mic, there's a preamp inside there. So that little misconception for everybody listening and watching, that just to be clear, what he's referring to is an external preamp to give him a little something extra. And if you're using a dynamic microphone, I'm using a dynamic right now, they tend to require a lot of gain. So if you're plugging it straight into a USB sound adapter, most of those inexpensive preamps that are built into those USB interfaces and consoles can only give you 40 to 50 decibels of gain. And to use a dynamic mic, you need a good 55, 60 dB of gain, which is a lot. And so you often will need an external preamp that gives you that extra bit of gain. So that all being said, I tend to lean towards the really clean preamps, especially if you're using a dynamic mic, because they have so much color inherently in the design. They're kind of tend to be on the warmer side with more bottom end generally. So I tend to with a dynamic, I would recommend a really clean mic preamp with a lot of gain, like a Grace M101, which is probably the best preamp dollar for dollar out there right now, I would say. But I wouldn't say go tube on a dynamic mic, because you're adding color with color, you're adding more noise because you need more gain.
Right.
You just need a lot of really clean gain to get that dynamic mic to sing. What do you think, Dan?
Well, the SM7 is it's a broadcast microphone, and a lot of guys like using it. It's good because it will cancel a lot of the side noise, and because you have to be a lot closer to an SM7 to make it work, as with any dynamic microphone. So if you're in a noisy place, it may help you out. But for doing general voiceover work, if you're doing conversational stuff, where you need to sound like you're in a conversation with somebody, you're not in a conversation with somebody from this close up, and it's not quite as effective. And so you need to have probably a number of tools in your toolkit. I mean, I keep a couple of dynamic mics around. If I'm working on something, it's requires something that sounds like you're on a handheld mic, I grab a handheld mic. But most of the time, you should be using a studio condenser mic for voiceover work, and because of that, it doesn't. Now they sound really great with a really great preamp, but an SM7, yeah, you really do need a good external preamp to go into your digital interface. However, if your digital interface has a really good preamp in it, that should be enough. Also, if you're using a preamp, a tube preamp or a solid state preamp or whatever, and you're driving that into your other digital interface, and then you've got to really turn down the gain on that. So you're adding a lot of analog noise into it, and it's not a good thing all around. So it's going to color your voice. It's going to maybe give it a little bit more distortion. Not something that I think that most people would notice, but it's certainly going to break up the cleanliness of your sound.
Yeah, that's something you got to look out for when you're adding
noise?
a preamp to a mixing console. Almost always you end up going through 2 preamps. And then you've got the, if you're using an external audio interface like a M-Box, most of the USB audio interfaces out there that are actually almost all USB audio interfaces, I can arguably say, have a built-in preamp no matter what. Even when you're going line in, you're going through a preamp and you have to pad it or turn it down or something. Right. So that's 3 preamps. And that's a real common scenario that a lot of people run into, that they end up going through 3 preamps along the way. So, that's something to look out for. Just make sure you gain stage everything correctly. The most gain should happen at the front end, which is where the mic's plugged in, with the least gain happening, at the other end. That's kind of the general rule. You want to push things through the signal chain and not pull them. So
that makes sense.
Hope that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually does. Yeah.
We
were talking with Dan just the other day, and I gave him the opportunity to hear what this is. I'm using an AKG Perception 200 condenser microphone, and
you sound great.
Without this tube preamp, it really sounds pretty flat. I'm using a Alesis USB 8-channel mixer.
Yeah, right. The multi-mix.
Yes, sir. I love this thing. But
it's a good mixer, but it's a lousy preamp.
Yeah, you're telling me. So that's why I'm you're hearing me through the ART Tube MP Studio.
Is that the rack mount unit that's stereo?
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
No, you can put this on your shelf anywhere right next to your computer.
I think I'm familiar with that one. Was it like $80 or something?
40 to be
$40.
Honest.
Yeah.
It's pretty cheap.
Those things are surprisingly effective. I actually think I have one of those around, and I'm sure you could do a tube swap on it, and it would sound even cleaner.
I've already done it. I got rid of the Chinese tube already.
Right. Yeah.
But here's the reason. Now that's why I'm asking. About preamps is because I have a $40 preamp. Now before I go and drop a major coin on an expensive one, I wanted to get you guys. And tell me what you guys thought. So you say the Grace M101 preamp?
That's not a bad way to go. I mean, the Golden Age pre, which the Golden Age or the Gap 73 is a real nice one, but it tends to be a little more colored. But it does have a lot of gain, like 75 dB of gain, and that's what you want. And any preamp that's like really designed to work with a ribbon microphone, for example. Ribbon microphones need a lot of gain too. So if you have a preamp that's ribbon specific, meaning it has no phantom power, it's going to have a lot of gain. So those are really appropriate to use too.
That's good to know. Now, what are your thoughts on ribbon mics for voiceover?
Depends on what you're doing. I mean, if you're, I've got a great collection of ribbon mics, and people are probably, ribbon mics? What are those things? This is the old microphones from the 30s and 40s and the 50s, and I actually used one up until about 1981 at a station I was at. But the ribbon mics they have a quality all their own. They're great if you're like, you have to do, President Roosevelt or something, December 7th, 1941. A day that shall live in you've got to do that. It works great if you do it on a ribbon mic. If you're trying to do a period piece. Now, there's some people that think that it makes them sound really mellow. So if you want to sound like you're on an FM station in 1968, try a ribbon mic. But I wouldn't use it as my main mic. I just mess around with them because they're lots of fun. I wonder what Harlan's going to have to say about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure he'll have something to say about it. I mean, there are ribbon microphones being designed today, modern ribbon mics by like Royer. And they're real. The thing is they do sound great. They've got a really wide bandwidth. They've got they sound condenser like almost, but they're really expensive. So you're not going to be able to get a cheap ribbon microphone to give you the performance that you need. They can work really well with voices that are bright because they tend to do the opposite. So if you have a really bright, edgy voice, then they're really good to work with to work against the edgy sounding voice. I've used them on trumpets, things that are really bright sounding.
All right, where did I
But really, here comes Dan. I think he went and grabbed something as a show and tell. What do you got, Dan?
I've got a ribbon mic here. This is my Electro Voice V3. This is the old V3, the original V3 when they first came out with these, and it still works too, which is really kind of cool. But this is when we're talking about a ribbon mic. It looks something, most of them, the old ones look like this, and they have their purpose, and they're fun to have around, and they're fun to mess around with. And I think if you had a specialty type project, it might work. But they're making some new ones, like you said, the Royers and the Bang & Olufsen one. That those things are apparently amazing. But those
Coles.
require, you're right, Coles. They require a preamp, no question about it.
A really good one. Lots of gain, real quiet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
all right, that help you out there, Lauren?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Well, thanks for calling. Where are you calling from?
Sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
All right. Well, happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy Mother's Day to you guys as well, and all the mothers out there listening.
Thanks, Lauren. You have a great one.
You do.
Thanks for
You do
calling
the same,
in.
guys. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
All right.
Good night.
All right. Lauren calling from Florida. Well, it's the Mother's Day edition of East West Audio Body Shop. Coming up next, I think we'll just take a little break here, and we'll get our special guest who will have lots of fascinating things to say and probably a lot of insults for us. But Harlan Hogan will be joining us in just a minute, so stay tuned right here.
And we're back.
And we're back. All right, here on East West Audio Body Shop. And happy Mother's Day again to everybody out there. All right, we're running a little behind today, but that's because
behind.
Little behind. It was Mother's Day. We had chores to do, so we were a little behind getting things ready. But now we're all set.
Forgive
And
us,
now-
please.
it's, it's just the way. Lots of honeydews on Mother's Day, but I did a good job. I got my wife a beautiful necklace that she was thrilled with. I go into a store. It's like, this one says my wife's name, and they're like, "Oh, that'll be perfect," and she just loved it this
And we
morning.
take American Express.
And they did actually, but fortunately that helped out a lot. But it's time for our special guest, my favorite segment of this show, aside perhaps from bad audio of the week. But this guy for sure is not going to give us any bad audio. Coming to us from Chicago, the legendary Harlan Hogan. Good evening and happy Mother's Day there, Harlan.
Hey, same to you guys. Is legendary the same as old?
Vintage.
Vintage, yes. We'll call you
Yeah,
seasoned.
I think
How's
so.
that?
Thanks for hanging out for us, Harlan. Really appreciate you coming on Mother's Day. And it's just, I couldn't think of anybody else I could possibly want on the show more, because you just exemplify the voiceover business. Just from the
Really?
talent side, the product, the understanding what the needs of the talent are, coming out with great ideas to help them, great products. you're really you got it coming and going. You really have I'd say have it pretty well figured out.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Totally. We're doing the cheesy "we're not worthy" move.
Would you write that out and send it to my wife so she'd be impressed? I mean, that would be nice.
yeah.
You know, I married my agent. My wife was my agent, so I don't know if you guys knew that or not. But
I did not
so
know
Mother's Day here is triply special.
Wow.
Well, it's hard to get an agent to return your calls, but if you marry them, then they never return your calls. So.
It's just...
But we had a lovely day today too. So, no, pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you. That's very nice.
Well, my turn.
Go.
Okay. It's great having you with us, Harlan. And you've been now. How long? We don't have to say when they invented the microphone, you were holding one of the wires. But how long have you been in the business, and how did you get started?
I have been, I just got my Screen Actors Guild thing that they send you every year.
Mm-hmm. According to the Bible,
lots of data. And I'm actually I'm not shy about being a little older. I'm happy to be alive. Let's face it. I've been in a Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA member for 35 years.
Wow.
So I'm proud of that. I'm very, 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 very proud of that. I got started in the crazy way. I was a very shy kid, extremely shy, and started doing magic tricks when I was young, like 12. And that kind of got me out of the shyness a little bit. And then I started doing some plays and ended up going to 2 colleges after they kicked me out of. I left the first one, but I ended up at Illinois Wesleyan University in Bloomington that had a great theater department. I got a BFA in theater. And of course, like every other actor, I quickly found you couldn't make a living, but I did get into radio and worked in radio for a while. Then I tried to sell computers. I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records as the worst computer salesman in history, because those were the days when a computer was $250,000 to $500,000 sale. And you needed to know math and sales techniques, none of which I knew because I had a BFA in theater.
So you just sort of acted your way through
for a while. I acted, and you know what I did? I actually could. One thing I could do well was good presentations, and that did save my semi-career for a while. Ended up at J. Walter Thompson for a while, and that's when I learned about voiceover people. I had no idea they existed. And finally, around the time I was about 30, I said, life's not a dress rehearsal. I've got to go do this. So I went out, to be an actor and do everything. It wasn't just voiceover at that point. Cobble together the head sheet and the demo and hit the streets. The one thing that I think really did pay off, it's that classic thing. And I remember my mother, who is gone now, but God rest her soul. She made it to 94 and just was... What a hoot. She was a dancer, and she's just one of those great people. And I remember her saying to me when I was leaving Honeywell, which is the computer company I worked for, and they'd sent me to sales training classes and computer classes and all this stuff, and I'm leaving, and I said, God, Mom, I think I just wasted, 3 years of my life. I mean, I'm never going to use any of that. And she kind of was like Aunt B. She said, well, Harlan, you never know. It may come in handy. Well, sure as hell it did. The sales training certainly paid off for me. And when I was getting started, doing everything, one of the first auditions I ever had, which was for video, which they did live because they didn't really have portable, video recorders, was for Arthur Anderson. And the agent said, wear a suit. It's an accounting firm. So I got there, and the script was pretty technical, and guess what? It was all computer terms. Fortran, COBOL, sys1, job queue. I nailed it. The guy I auditioned for followed me out of the room, and he said, I got to ask you something. We've had a lot of people in here today, and, they're all really good and everything, but you seem to really understand this stuff. I said, yeah, I do.
That's a great example.
They hired me. It was amazing, and so, sometimes your mother's right. In fact, frequently she's right. I did about 30, maybe 35 videos for them, and that really got my career going.
It's a great example of you never know what it is that's going to move you forward in voiceover. I mean, you may think, well, how is my voice better or different from the next guy or woman who's out there competing with me? But you never know what skill you have, some secondary skill that you might have that's going to give you that little bit of edge, and it could just, that's all it takes.
Absolutely true. Yeah. Or somebody you meet. One of my favorites is, we've lived here about 8 years, and it's a small neighborhood. Everybody knows everybody. I was out picking up the garbage, bringing the garbage cans in, and my neighbor Pat across the street, yeah, we start talking. They kind of know what I do. They usually figure I'm just unemployed, but they have an idea what I do. And he said, hey, I picked up, here's a couple trucking companies, and during the economic downturn, he picked up several more. He said, I had a question. Now, maybe you don't do this. Maybe this is like, it's, stuff you don't do. But, we've got these phone things, and my wife did them, and you know the rest of the story. He ended up being, he is a really good client of mine. He lives across the street. Who would dream that, So you're right. You never know when your background's going to be good, or somebody you met or meet will be, the person who ends up helping you out, teaching you something, or even making some money.
Really? I mean, it's interesting because it's, if you're at parties and people say, well, what do you do? And you go, well, it's kind of hard to explain. But every time I get the chance to talk to somebody about that, they say, hey, wait a second, I could probably use it. And it's great marketing. So you should always remember, be proud of what you do.
Hey, I actually got a couple questions in the chat room.
We all take it for granted.
Yeah.
Would you be mind taking a couple questions, Harlan, from our chat room?
Of course.
Awesome.
Sure.
Well, one comes in from Trumpet Guy 99, and I believe that is my dad. So, hey, Dad. And my mom, I think, is probably there listening, too. They don't miss a show. And happy Mother's Day to you guys, anyway. He says, what attribute singles you out as an in-demand voiceover artist? Is it the diction, your articulation, just your professionalism? What do you think is the one thing, the biggest thing that really has just kind of gotten you to the plateau you've reached?
Honestly, I think it is just one thing. Is it my good looks, my stature, my height? Oh God, my abs. Oh no, I'm sorry, different. I've never believed, that it has much success in this business has much to do with how you sound. I've always believed, from a performance standpoint, it's not how you sound, it's the way you can make a listener feel. And I think I do that well. And the other thing I do well is I'm very serious about voiceover being a business. One of my little mantras when we do some workshops is the work of voiceover work is getting the work.
Indeed.
And I have always spent a ton of my 35 years doing this, not behind the microphone, but getting work. And that's from a guy who's shy and failed as a salesman. But I realized one day you had to come up with an answer to that question, which is why you and not somebody else. And I decided, I knew I could do a good job. I was going to market better than anybody else.
Right. But now you're marketing yourself, something you totally believe in. I mean, I used to sell insurance. Talk about a hard sell. But so it's the same thing. If you learn how to sell, you learn the basics. Maybe you don't have quite the belief in what you're doing because maybe it's over your head, like you were saying with computers. And I understood insurance. It doesn't mean I liked it, and I think that probably shows. But I love what I do, and I know you love what you do. And when you love what you do, and you take those basic sales skills that they teach you, it's a big help. And I think that's probably the reason for a lot of success with a lot of people. Yeah. So you've gotten involved.
And it's not. You don't feel like it's selling then.
That's right. Exactly. Now you've gotten involved in other things besides voiceover, things that are voiceover related. You now have a whole line of products that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with because they're always calling me and they're saying, Dan, how do I use this thing? Like the original Porta Booth Cube that a lot of people are using, and a lot of them aren't using properly. An amazing design and an amazing invention on your part. But the Porta Booth Pro, which is I finally figured out exactly where the sweet spot on it is and how to use it. It can be used as a mainline studio item, but not on its own. But how did you come up with first the Cube, and then how did you move on to improve it into the really cool thing that it is now?
Thanks. Necessity, personal need. I travel some, and, somebody once said to me, the only reason to work hard is so you can play hard. And it's very easy in this business, particularly as connected as we are now, to go on the road. I was on the road after NAB for a week out in California, never missed a session, never had to book a studio. But I used to go in, I was an early adopter of home recording, and that came from that radio background, that I had some fundamental idea how to do it. I used to have a portable DAT machine with me, and, now the laptops and things. But I always had a problem in hotels and, somebody's guest house, or I once recorded a Sears spot on my sailboat. Seriously, it ran network radio, and I recorded it on my sailboat. So I was always getting, calling down to room service and the maids and gathering pillows and comforters and doing everything I could. The tricks: go in the room and, clap your hand, try to find the right sweet spot if there is one in the hotel room, turn off the heat. Find Quinsuela, who's vacuuming next door, and slip her $20.
Turn off the Coke machine.
The ice maker machine. yeah, exactly. There is the damnedest thing whenever I'm in a hotel. I mean, first of all, I ask for a high room with no view, preferably. I mean, and away from the elevator. And if the ice machine's out there or a Coke machine, I have discovered that, and I don't know how this happens, guys, but somehow they become unplugged during the time I'm recording. I don't know why, how it could be. Turn off the heat, turn off the air conditioning. But, it was a pain, when you're getting, comforters and trying to do this stuff. And Jeff Fisher, who is my co-author on both of the home, we did an original Voice Actor's Guide to Recording at Home, and then we did it home and on the road, told me about something that Douglas Spotted Eagle, who's a singer and composer, had done when they were doing a video shoot. And what happened is he had to do some guitar work and some singing. And, of course, it sounded like that when it sounded awful. And on the set, they had foam core and they had some acoustical foam. So he made a cube out of the foam core and stuck the foam inside and duct taped it together. And Jeff told me about it. I said, God, that's a great idea. It turns out, I've been told now by some people in England that the BBC did that, years ago in the 50s. They would make a box. The theory being that you don't have to be in a human-sized box to record. The microphone does, because that's what it's hearing around it, the environment. So I tried every collapsible cube I could find, finally found one that worked really great. And, of course, I wrote a little article about it because I had no intention of ever being in retail or making anything. It has never even crossed my mind. Wrote it up, sent it out, and put it out on the internet, and lots of people were making them. Of course, they immediately stopped making that cube. So then, I found another cube, and I can't tell you how much. This is just what we were saying before. Sometimes you're not listening. In fact, most times we're not listening. People, friends of mine said, you ought to make these. I said, no, I don't make them. I told everybody how to make them. You get foam, you cut it. But a lot of people don't want to do that. You ought to make them. So, okay, well, I made up 10. They sold out that day. And I charged a fair price for it. I mean, because I'm thinking, well, I'm going to tie up. There's a lot more time involved in these things than people think. Well, you just throw them in a cart and ship them out. Well, not really. So all of a sudden, those started selling. I mean, no one was more surprised than I was, even to this day. Product still works great. I wanted, and a lot of people wanted, something that they could use at home or, do finished tracks on. So, like, for example, when I was at NAB, and as you guys know this, the minute you leave town, the phone lights up.
All make reservations. That's how you get work.
Exactly how you get work. And there is a good studio in Vegas, and I've been over there, but I wanted to, I was at NAB speaking. I wanted to see the show. I was going to fly to California the next day. So I really didn't want to do a 45-minute cab ride and an hour at the studio, which I would have to pay for because it's not my client's problem. I'm not at home. And I ended up doing 3 sessions that day at the Wynn Hotel with the Porta Booth Pro. So if I had bought one, it would have paid for itself. But I didn't because I just took one of mine. Anyway, the Pro is much larger. And as Dan was saying, it's got great acoustics. You have to find the sweet spot. It's like just as you do in any studio. and be clever about getting away from the window, maybe throwing a blanket up behind you. I was in a Best Western out in California, which was probably, I should have taken photos, the worst room you could imagine. Just a cube with glass sliding doors, ground level with the Pacific Ocean.
It's always those modern hotel rooms, that the modern designs, the minimalist things are horrible.
Oh, they're just horrible. A lot of times I end up, getting on the bed, because sometimes there's a headboard, but being creative with it. I missed no jobs that week at all, and these were mainly regular customers and clients, and I just said, in one case, it's usually an ISDN thing, I said, hey, I don't have ISDN Monday. Notice I didn't say, I'm in a hotel somewhere. I just said, I don't have ISDN Monday. You want to do Source Connect? Yeah. So we did. And you don't lose the gig, and it sounds good. So anyway, I came up with the second one because you could get a much bigger script in it, bigger microphones, more professional. And those are made in China for me. They're handmade. We are just about out of the first shipment, and the other one is what in the retail business, what they call on the water. In other words, they're made. They're somewhere on a tanker coming from China now. I will get those in June.
Wow.
And we are working on a new basic one.
A smaller cube, or?
We're working on what we're calling Portabooth 2.0. I have the prototype here. I'd show it to you, but we're not on video. It's a little bit larger, but still can compact and go on, in a carry-on thing. The foam is installed, similar in the sense to the Pro. It's a one-zipper, purpose-built product. So now I'm really able to control the acoustics of it and the design. We're testing it now. I'm not sure. I'm thinking probably by fall we'll have it. Because I like to use both. I know Dan does too. I love the basic booth for a quick little trip. I'm on the motorcycle. I can throw it, in a side case. But then when I know I'm going to be out of here for a week, clearly, obviously, I'm going to bring the Pro along and a good microphone because now I'm doing stuff that's going to go on the air. Right. But before too long, we'll have that one also made in China, and it'll be much easier. You won't have to be sticking foam in it and playing around with it. You make one zipper, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and you can fit your underwear in it and everything. I've been able to travel around with it.
You can fit your dog in the damn thing if you want.
Well, maybe my dog. Yeah, exactly.
So that's my original intention when I got serious about the product was to make that one first, but there was so many people asking about the more professional one, the bigger booth. We did that one first. And then that led to the microphone and led to a whole bunch of the recording sign and
on and on and on.
And a great microphone it is, too.
Thank you. I'm amazed. Yeah, somebody told me you guys had a shootout. I wasn't on the mic. I wasn't on the shootout. Very upset. Very upset.
I had a feeling you'd hear about that. There's a story I'll tell you about.
Around.
You can
George knows the story,
okay.
But we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So
I think we've got another.
I'm very grateful. This has been fun. It's been fun because I've had to learn a whole nother business. I'm still learning it. Much harder than you think. Inventory, how much you buy, how much money you tie up doing this stuff. Will the product sell or not? There's no guarantee. I mean, you can end up with 500 of something sitting on the shelf, and you go, "Cripe, that was a bad idea."
Convincing your wife that you've got to put it in the basement too, and.
Well, you should have seen when we were discussing, because as you can imagine, that initial order of the Pros was far from inexpensive. And I mentioned to Leslie, and I mean, she was an agent, so she knows the business, and she looked at everything, and she said, "Wow, this is a big risk." I said, "Yeah." I mean, she's great about that. I said, "My whole life's a risk on it. I mean, I haven't had a job in 35 years, for God's sakes, with a regular check." She said, "Well, do we have this much?" I said, Not yet, but if we don't, I'll borrow it." She said, "Okay."
Love it.
Well, it sold well. We made that back, so
that's great.
But that's a little nerve-wracking,
That's totally nerve-wracking.
And now I'm out of the mic, so
I appreciate what you do, because I've dabbled into the idea of doing that, and I understand the upfront costs, the risks involved.
Yeah.
And I really admire that you went for that. So, I really appreciate you taking the time out of a holiday Sunday to be on the show.
Really?
It's been fantastic. Thank you so much, Harlan.
No problem.
And we'll have you on
you guys are my
again
friends.
because But we have to have you on again, one of these days, because there's still a lot of other stuff that
There's so much to talk about.
That the voice people, in our community really need to hear from you. And again, we praise your presence with us, and good luck and happy Mother's Day to Leslie and to any other mothers you might know there in Chicago.
And also
appreciate that very much.
Any products that Harlan's mentioned or anything you want to know about Harlan, we'll have a link to Harlan's website in the show notes, and you can check it out and get caught up on some
George
of the new things happening. Take care, everybody. Take care, Harlan. Bye-bye.
All righty. All right. Well, we're running a little late here, but what else are you going to be doing on a Sunday? See? You could be watching The Apprentice, but you can record that. It'll be on again. But anyway, we're here. We're voice people, and that's why we enjoy doing this show, and that's why we enjoy doing it for you. We've got one more caller coming up and bad audio of the week, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop on Mother's Day 2011, and we're glad you're with us. And, we're having a little bit of technical trouble with our commercials tonight, so I got to tell you about our great friends at VoiceOver Extra, Vox. They've got everything over there. Webinars. I get to be on some of those webinars. Great articles every single day. Our great friend John Florian, who puts out VoiceOver Extra, does a magnificent job of collaborating with so many people in the business and giving you the information you need on a daily basis. All you have to do is go over to voiceoverextra.com. That's with an X, not with the extra, EXTRA. He'll be happy that I said that. And go over there, sign up. It's a free subscription. Great stuff that you'll get out of there. And, of course, the webinars and some of the other bonuses you can get out of that. So make sure you read VoiceOver Extra. Anyway, we're back now, and I think we should have at least one more caller tonight. What do you think, George?
We do. We got someone waiting in the wings.
Good evening, East West Audio Body Shop. Who's calling?
Hello. This is Mary Whittam in Chester County, Pennsylvania.
Oh, hey, Mom.
Yeah, it's Mom.
Yay, Mom. Yay. I love it. That's so cool if you could be. I'm glad you could call into the show. I know you don't miss a single show, so just to have you on is really fun. And I hope you guys are having great weather. It sounds like the East Coast and the Northeast is really having awesome weather right now.
Right now, yes. Yeah, pretty good. And it's warming up. It's going to be hitting 75 real soon, like tomorrow.
That's great.
It's unlike California.
Yeah, it's in the 60s and gloomy here today, actually.
Well, George, you promise you got to talk to the man when you do your meditation, because when we come out on the 17th, we want mild, lovely, warm weather for the beach.
I promise. I'll do whatever I possibly can.
Yeah, go to the man.
Well,
hey, I was fun hearing your mother there, Dan. That was cool.
Yeah, she's a wonderful lady and so happy out there in California, just like George is. But I was kind of wondering. I've known George for a couple of years, but I'm wondering, when did you notice? Because he asked my mom about when I was before I could talk. How did she know I was going to go in the voice business? When did you know that George was going to be? People say he's a geek. George is the least geeky guy I know. if you even understand what geek means. But he's a smart technician. When did you realize that he had the potential or the aptitude to go into voice into electronics and audio stuff?
Oh, that's a long question, Dan.
I hope the answer isn't as long.
But why are we being timed?
No, we're not a network.
Yeah, you can talk as long as you want, Mom.
Probably about the age of 12. I'm guessing. How's that, George?
12. Yeah, I'd say it could have been 12. I mean, I know I was playing with a tape recorder from an early age, probably 6 or 7.
Oh, yes. In fact, my notes here I prepped say you were always getting electronic gadgets and recorders, that everything you wanted. And then also later, you were freaking addicted to the camcorder when that was invented.
Yeah. That is
lots
true.
Of audio with the whole package there. And Dad says we have over 500 tapes here of yours, George. Come get them.
Well, when you see the house I live in L.A., if you can figure out a place to slide them into this house where they won't be tripped on,
yeah,
I'll have you ship them out right away.
Are you saying we should all pack, 3 adults pack in only one giant fat-ass suitcase when we come visit?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm thinking about where are we storing 3 separate suitcases in a small, cozy house?
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, he's going to make you sleep. You're going to sleep on the back porch, so it doesn't really matter.
I'll bring those high-quality, fancy earplugs.
Yeah, you better. It's going to be a noisy house.
Yeah, I've heard Ella yell, so it's.
Oh, you've heard Ella yell? Yeah, we have been on Skype as well.
Yeah, she's being sequestered right now. Right about now, Amy's probably going, it's 6:15. Are they still going?
Yeah, I'm sure Amy is saying that. Yeah. And hey, George, you used to lie under the table hiding. That was probably about, 9, 10, recording, of course, the colorful answers and writings in the family game called limericks, writing limericks.
Oh, yeah. I used to love to listen to that back. It was like it was like our own. We really could have made a show out of that. I mean, that was like a radio show of its own, if it would actually pass the FCC regulations. But
yeah, we're pretty raunchy but happy group here. Now,
yeah, limericks got pretty dirty.
Sounds like a fun family.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to be real, man.
Yeah,
that's true.
How we were.
Yeah. Okay. My other notes say, a few concerts that I attended with you, George, over the years past were recorded incognito, shall we say?
Mm-hmm. I've done a little bit of that. I've done a little bit of that. Yep, a little bit bootlegging here and there.
Yeah, with me being just a teensy bit nervous sitting beside you, knowing this device was showing out the top of the pocket.
With the little red light flashing saying record?
Yeah,
no.
Right. Oh, God.
No,
Hey, we had a great day today here.
Oh, I'm glad.
Special eating and drinking.
Well, I'm really glad you guys are coming out to visit us. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think you're going to love the place we've managed to find for the family to live here. And miss you guys. Miss you too. And happy Mother's Day. Thanks for coming on our show.
Oh, it's been a total honor, Dan and George. Total honor. I mean, I'm not Dan's mom, but you know what I mean. Both of you.
We're already close, and I've never met you, but I'm sure we'll get the chance soon.
I feel close. Oh, yeah. Thanks to the power of voice. This is very cool.
Amazing, isn't it?
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you, George.
Happy Mother's Day. I love you.
It's been beautiful. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Now, you see, your mother does show prep. Why can't you do show prep?
Oh, yeah. Well, I got her picture up on the camera.
That's true.
I owe your mom a picture up on the camera here, actually.
Yes, we have. Let's see if we can find that one.
I got it. It's right here. It's just a matter of me doing the appropriate juggling to make that come up on the picture. But I can do it.
Okay.
I can do it. Actually, here is a classic picture of Dan's mom, and it's apparently not on a screen anywhere where I can find it.
Oh, okay.
How fun. Okay.
Well, never mind. It was
probably
taken in 1945, I think, when she was in elementary school.
Oh, there
we
it
wanted
is.
to throw that on there and say, my God, she looks 40 years younger than I do now.
There it is.
Okay, let's see here. Okay.
Look at that.
She was a beautiful girl, that's
Beauty.
for sure. At least that's what my father kept telling me.
And there she is now. Still beautiful.
Yep, 80 years old this year.
Still
And-
vibrant.
Well, it's because she's out in California where it's nice and warm, except for today. I think she just had some hand surgery for carpal tunnel, and she's like typing away again. So
Good
anyway.
for her. I work really
Yes.
hard to make sure my keyboard and mouse positioning and everything else is as best as absolutely possible, because I worry. I mean, I am on the computer a lot, and carpal
Me
tunnel
too.
is a real thing. And I've been using the same Microsoft natural keyboard. Let's show you what this thing looks like. Let's see. This keyboard here, have you ever seen one of these where it's split kind of in the middle and it's splayed out on either side?
Right.
It looks weird, but it really, really helps because my wrists aren't being bent really odd to have them on the keyboard.
Right.
And then just having the mouse with a mouse pad, and the mouse can be angled, and the whole keyboard goes up and down. So I have my arms, at a right angle.
Right.
All that stuff is crucial.
I'll have to get me one of those. They don't make that for Mac, though.
What, the
Well,
keyboard?
any keyboard will work for any. All right, never mind.
That keyboard, this is a Microsoft keyboard, which was never designed for a Mac, and I've just been using it since my Windows computer days. So, anywho, thanks for bringing up the carpal tunnel thing, because it's important, and it's another aspect of voiceover recording tech is,
Oh, yeah.
your ergonomics.
Yeah, because with me, with editing, it's like the same two motions constantly because
Yeah.
I make a lot of mistakes. And there's days when it's like, whoa, this isn't working anymore. So, anyway. Well, speaking of pain, it's time for bad audio of the week. We got that queued up there?
Yes, we do. Let's get that bumper in first. Find it.
Is this thing on?
And now it's time for another exciting episode of Bad Audio of the Week.
Sorry, that was mandatory. Okay, yeah, we have to. And thanks to Andy Bauer for that. Anyway,
yeah.
Now what this is? Now this is something somebody sent me this week. You can tell I talk for a living. And now we're going to help this guy out. I already have helped this guy out. He told me, he says, well, my first coach gave me this. My first coach gave me this. He told me to buy this, this, and this, and this, and this. All front-end processors. Noise gates and compressors and stuff like that. And he was like, why is my audio so bad? Play this.
All right, here we go. Let's see if we can make this happen. All right, fine.
Yeah.
I think this is the wrong kind of file format for Ustream Producer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call an audible here.
Okay.
And let's see if I can make this happen in a different way.
Developing the technology behind the MAT at...
I don't recall there being reverb on it.
Yeah, no, that's my fault. So another example of testing every file before the show starts. This is a really good example for everybody as to why I don't make a living in radio.
Well, you get good at it after a while.
Yeah, we're practicing on the air here. But
right.
Let me see. You know what? Let me do this. Dan, keep him busy for 30 seconds. I'm going to plug something in.
All right, I can do a soft shoe. Anyway, if you have a question about voiceover work, especially if it's voiceover home studio questions, you can email us right here at ewabsshop, EWABSHOP @gmail.com. And we'll take the best questions. And you heard people can get to ask questions on the air here or over the net as we're on. And we'll be able to answer your questions and discuss it properly. We really want to open the show up to talking a little bit more generally about voiceover work, especially with some of the guests that we've had. We had Harlan on today and Dave Quivasier a couple weeks ago. And we're looking to have a few other great voiced actors that you know who are tops in our business come on our show and tell us what they know about the business and, of course, where you can access them. And we want to hear from you. Okay,
I got the file. There it is.
Okay, now we got it. Okay, as I was saying, this guy had all this front-end stuff.
Behind the MAT at USC, we challenged ourselves to create an online learning environment that incorporates important aspects of the on-campus experience. In the beginning, all the birds were walking on the ground. "Shush now," said the bird's mom. "Birds don't fly. Never say that again." "But Mom, why do we have wings then? Do you sell a product for digital download via ClickBank or PayPal? That's great."
I think we got the idea.
Yeah, well, I couldn't hear the mic pops in there. There was an awful lot of mic popping and stuff.
You're probably not getting it over Skype, but trust me, I'm hearing it, and I think the Ustream people are going to hear it because the bandwidth is there.
Okay, so you heard the mic pops in there.
Yeah.
All right, so what was going on is this guy was compressing it, and he had background noise, and there was room echo and all sorts of things. And so what I told him was, get a MicPort Pro. He's like, my wife's going to kill me. I bought all this stuff. I said, sell it, because we got him he got a MicPort Pro. Do you have the other one where what he sounds like with the MicPort Pro? He still pops his P's, but we're going to work on that too.
What's the name of that file, Dan?
That one is the test without plosives, or test with plosives.
That's the name of the file?
Yeah.
No, let's see if I can find it. It's not.
Right,
it's not where it's supposed to be. So.
Well, that's par for the course. Again, too many honeydews today because it's Mother's Day. But anyway, we're going to work with this guy, and we're going to make his sound sweet. And remember, George and I are both professional consultants and studio troubleshooters. You can reach us at, you can reach George, of course, at El Dorado Recording Studios, eldorec.com. And what email address should they use for you?
Oh, for email, I actually prefer that you go to the website and just use the contact form on there, because it guarantees that I'll get your message, which is not always the case when it comes to standard email. It's kind of maddening how many times I've not received somebody's email. Even clients that have been emailing me for 5 years, they'll text me or call me and say, "Did you get that email?" I go, "No, not in the junk box. I don't know what happened to it." So anyway, if you go to my website, vostudiotech.com, go to the contact page, and you can reach out to me there. That way I can guarantee that I'll get your message. And you can drop a file in my Dropbox on the services page too. And you can leave a file for me to listen to, and I'll give you my honest and completely objective opinion about the sound quality, and give you a little bit of notes on what you could do to make it sound better. Actually, Dan, I found that file. It's called Test Fixed.
Yes.
Let's just play that real quick.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Here it is.
There is a place where people wake gently to ocean waves, singing birds, children playing. It is paradise. Then there are places where people actually have to work for a living, which means getting out of bed early, getting dressed, and getting...
Is that a file where you actually processed it to try to remove the plosives?
I took the plosives out of that just to show you that it can be done. And there's a real interesting trick to it. You have to use the right software.
Yeah.
And I took the plosives out and didn't take a whole lot else out, but you can hear how much better he sounds on something that's the size of an asthma inhaler. I think most of you guys out there know how big are familiar with the MicPort Pro. We totally took out his front end chain. You don't want front end stuff. You want a clean signal going in from the front, and do all your processing on the back end using software, because the software can emulate any of that stuff and makes it a lot easier. Also, again, and since George was able to cut in with that, now I get to give my email address. You can reach me at homestudiomaster at verizon.net. One word, home studio master at verizon.net. And I do the same kind of thing. I'll be glad to listen to your audio. We'll make it an evaluation of, if you've got the right acoustic background for your studio, and we'll fix it up and we'll get you sounding the way you should. Because in a home studio, it's a unique environment. You should be able to make it sound as good as any professional studio if you've got the right equipment and the right space set up.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the end of this marathon for tonight, George.
I think that'll do it. I think this is our longest show to date.
Yes, but you want to know something? I think this was our best show ever.
Best show ever.
Best show ever. Anyway, we'll be back next week, hopefully, in one piece. And thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And we'll see you next Sunday night at 8 and 4:30 in Mumbai and 5 o'clock out on the West Coast. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we're
East-West Audio Body Shop.
Have
Take
a
care,
great
everybody.
night. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Good night.
Good night, everybody.